invest. So yeah, they are in partnership with Bethany International,
Ah,
Singapore.
oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's where he obtained his doctorate too.
Hmm.
He did his both master and doctorate. So he's running the institute. So currently, I mean, some have taught the course before. There's on strategic planning.
Okay.
So he's doing it in modular way. So this week, I'm teaching also on strategic planning. And it's so interesting. We are doing it online.
Nice.
So there, and interesting, the first session held on Monday, yesterday, 10 a.m. to 12.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 23 participants spread all over the world.
Wow.
Yes, very interesting.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Those are fun classes to teach.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we had some little technical hitch. Thank God you are hearing me clearly now. Before we leave, I'm going to use my other laptop to test whether the audio, the microphone is
Ah,
repaired properly.
okay.
So, but that Monday, thank God I took the two laptops. I have two laptops. So one, the microphone was not working well, so I just switched to the other one. And that really saved the day.
Yes.
So, oh, sorry. I hope you are still hearing me.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah. So, I want to say I really appreciate you because apart from other resources that I'm using before, even before now, just about 1 hour, I think 37. Okay, yes, about that. Yeah, it is still rolling. I went back to our lecture, our interaction with you on strategic planning.
Oh, yes.
I took time on the YouTube. I've been listening to it since. Even it just happened, okay, it is at 1 hour 36 minutes 23 seconds. So it remains few minutes to finish it up. Just going over what we have done before.
Mm-hmm.
Then with this facilitating strategic plan online, the gain there is that uh, I hope I'm still on.
You're on.
So this class, they exposed me to uh, another tool on Google. They call it Google Classroom.
Oh, yeah.
Are you
Interesting.
familiar? Are you familiar with it?
I'm not, but it sounds like is it an learning management system?
Yeah. Somehow it facilitates interaction between the lecturer and the class participants.
So Google Classroom.
Yeah, Google Classroom is it's new to me. Maybe it has been in existence. So all the participants are in that Google Classroom. One can put assignment there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
This kind of system is great for teaching.
I like it.
Yeah. I haven't used this one before, but there's others that I've used that are like it. that
Yeah.
universities here all use to
Okay.
supplement classroom lectures.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you can do lectures over them. You get feedback from students over it. You can put assignments on it. You can, I mean, it's
Yes.
just fun
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just after the first, because I tried to start from the simpler presentation because you know what you did for us. I later now, after simplifying at the introductory level, trying to, and then the other thing is I try to know the level of the participants
Sure.
so that what I'm going to present to them will not be too high.
Mm-hmm.
So after that of Monday, then I uploaded for them the strategic planning process, the paper you gave us, and then the workbook. And also, they are also to work on the one on this turn your ministry idea into a fruitful and effective reality.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a major assignment for all of them
That's
that they are
awesome.
going to go through. They are going to go through, and then he said a workbook for developing ministry ideas. So they are going through. So I mean, I told the director of the school that I have to report to my mentor. And so I really thank God for that. I've taught the course before, but I think this time around is going to be further enriched with resources from our relating together.
Yeah.
Mm.
Awesome.
So
That is great news.
yeah, I'm happy. So then I think you might have seen the Little Free Library project we began.
Yes.
Were you familiar with it before?
I see them around different places here in the United States, in neighborhoods and
Hello?
small cities. And so I am familiar with the concept.
Hello? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Light just came back from.
Ah, oh, there you are.
Yeah. You know, I was using Torchlight before.
Yes, so we have that concept a lot of times in different neighborhoods. We'll set up libraries like that.
Uh,
And
okay.
yeah, it's a great idea to get people
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah. Yeah. So you see, over the years we have been since 2015, 2016. We usually do book fair. I think I have been reporting
Mm-hmm.
about book
Yep.
fair. So this year, in my research, trying to find out how best to do this, and then also in a conference or meeting with my former school, Obafemi Awolowo University, I raised the question. I have a lot of books. What will happen with the books if I have to leave? So different counsel came that the earlier I dispose of them, because my children may not even look at them.
Yep. Yep.
So the best thing is to find means of making them useful to the public.
Yes.
So sometime like that, I now came across this little free library, and I read the idea and I liked it.
Mm.
I decided to exploit. Um, but to exploit further, one has to get licensed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. If you want to enter the Facebook community, there is a steward license,
Hmm.
a charter license. So I just communicated my daughter over there in US. We process it, and I registered and paid the amount, and got the license. So
Cool.
I was able to access their resources.
Mm-hmm.
How do you set it up? So I was able to download some materials, and we were able to. So the usual mobilization for book fair, we now adapted and adopted it to promote the Little Free Library.
Mm.
And in that process, like you say, organization culture, the way to wield influence in Africa and Nigeria is to recognize hierarchy, authority.
Mm-hmm.
So we went through Ministry of Education, got them convinced about it. Then the Ministry of Education now wrote letters to principals, proprietors, and proprietors
Wow.
to attend our seminar.
Nice. That is
So
great.
then we also got a collaboration with Nigeria Library Association.
Hmm.
We put them into the planning committee.
Mm-hmm.
Then the chief librarian of the state, a lady, she's also in the planning committee. So she's the one that is mediating actually between our Joyous Innovation and the Ministry of Education. She will explain everything, got them convinced. And so this year, principals and proprietors that came on the register list was 58.
Hmm.
And some people came late, so they were actually more than 60
Wow.
that participated. So we were really encouraged, and we didn't spend as much as we used to spend in the previous year.
That's great. Well
The
done.
venue provided free of charge.
Yeah.
Mobilization by the Ministry of Education. So after the seminar and the training, because it's also like a workshop, we made them to put in their thoughts how this thing can be done.
Mm-hmm.
With the social media, we got a donation of 100,000 naira to produce the first 2 boxes.
Nice.
I think you saw in our report.
Yes.
And then we also convinced the Commissioner of Education that the first installation will be in the premise of the Ministry of Education. Because by so doing, they will promote the project by themselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We don't need to spend money.
That's great.
So graciously with God, and then the interesting thing, which is my passion and our passion, to break religious barriers.
Mm.
This promoting reading culture through Little Free Library, Muslims were there.
Wow, that's great.
Christians were there. And irrespective of your religion, so they participated.
Hmm.
So, about 3 weeks ago, we went to Ministry of Education. We installed the first little library. Or the books donated, I told you about Professor Folayan that brought books from America.
Oh,
These,
yeah.
a lot of books, and donated to us that we should use
Wow.
for community library. So we picked relevant books to the environment. That is the thing about this little
Yes.
free library. If you want to plant in a certain place, you have to know the category of people.
Sure.
So we contextualize. So we picked relevant books to education things and put it in a box. So it was the Commissioner of Education that first picked books.
Great.
And when we visited him to appreciate him, because there and then he said, because we are installing the first little free library there, he's not just going to pay for the money of one box, he's going to pay for another two boxes.
Oh, wow.
So, so that we should remind him, we will give the money. And then he suggested, and others suggested, that the next place we should install the little free library is the State House of Assembly, where the
Influence.
lawmakers,
Yes.
the state,
Yes. Yes.
that we should do another planting of little free library, that they need it.
Wow.
So very soon, maybe this week, next week, we will be following up to plant another little free library at the State of Assembly. So the commissioner said one of the books that he picked was on the educational constitution in USA, in America.
Yeah.
That currently he is to draft constitution on education for the state.
Wow.
So the book he picked is on education constitution in America. And that gives me joy.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. That's a great influence.
Yeah. So it's a great influence, and that's what we are looking forward to. Then also, prior to that, one of the members in the planning committee works in the Broadcasting Corporation radio. She also used her influence and position to see that there were, I featured in the radio for 2 days.
Wow.
on the radio program, both vernacular and in English, to talk on this project. The day we talk on the project, we started receiving call on radio from all over.
Wow.
People were asking, come to another state, a nearby state, this project, we need it there. Somebody said he has a library, we should come and assist him. So it was actually very encouraging.
That's great response.
Yeah. So I think, I believe that your influence and working alongside with you, this is a blessing to really thank God for. This year is so encouraging in that area. And then lately, this our guest house.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was no patronage till uh, beginning of the year, no patronage.
Ah.
So it was so discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Then we just we had a call from a colleague that is also retired from Scripture Union,
Hmm.
that the wife is transferred to Osun State from another state in the eastern part of Nigeria. We are in the
Mm-hmm.
west.
Mm-hmm.
It's so far. But there was a major transfer of staff all over the country.
Wow.
The wife works with the civil defense,
Mm-hmm.
a kind of paramilitary organization.
Mm-hmm.
So the wife worked with civil defense. So the wife is transferred to my own state and to the town where I am, Oshobo. So we just told her, they phoned us, thank you, Daddy, please, you have to provide accommodation. My wife is coming over there. Let her come. And together with my wife, we decided to lodge her in the guest house,
Mm-hmm.
free of charge. And the, I mean, the first day, actually, she started praying that she will get more people to stay with her in the guest house. She told us later.
Uh-huh.
And we just, in discussing with her, we said, okay, the idea came that if there are more new staff who are transferred to Oshobo who may need accommodation, that she can talk with them. And that really works.
Hmm.
Works. Right now, we don't just have guests, we have tenants.
So the other guests, are they paying for their stay?
Yes, yes, they are paying.
Nice.
Yeah, they are paying.
Nice.
So I know actually though we have to bend a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of paying per night, they paid for 1 year.
Yeah.
So they paid to stay for 1 year. So we have, I think, about 5 of them now.
Wow, that's great.
So they paid. What we did is to only allow them to use three rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and we left out another 3 rooms for other guests for short stay,
Sure.
for those who may come for short stay. So right now we are happy, we are encouraged, and
Yes.
I think it's good to be good.
That's praise
That
God for that.
so these are our friend has brought in this patronage, and we give glory to God for that. So far, these are my stories. Um, I think you should rejoice and be happy with me.
I am rejoicing. Yes. That is so encouraging to hear that
Yeah,
that the things that are coming together for you. So,
yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah,
influence that God is giving you in different parts of Nigeria, this is just awesome.
yeah. We thank God. We thank God. We thank God. We give Him glory. We give Him glory. So, please, maybe do you have my form, what I put on the agenda with you? I'm sorry, I think I lost.
Let me pull it up and see.
Yeah.
Update, feedback on the seminar and workshop on prosperity through the
Okay.
reading promotion. We talked about that. Forthcoming engagement, teach on strategic planning and cross-cultural participants, and resources for training library information stewards.
Mhm.
Those are the
Mhm.
3 things that you had up.
Okay. So I think the major one will be these strategic planning teaching that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I have quite a number of PowerPoints, both from you and previous one I got.
Mm-hmm.
Now, actually, I know that there are different tools of for strategic planning. SWOT is there. Uh, is it PEST tool?
Mm-hmm.
Which other one? I think I know majorly SWOT, PEST tool. Are there other um, tools for strategic planning?
Well, there's different aspects of that. So if the organization, and I'll back up. It depends on the organization. So in your class, you may have organizations that have never really thought about categorizing what their purpose really is, who they're really trying to reach. And so the work that those students will get out of the class is if their organization really comes out with a focused vision and then some plans going into the future. And so that's one level. If the organization has a clear understanding of what it does and has done some planning in the past, then the tools of strategic planning as they identify where they're going are more implementation tools. So how will they assign projects, hold people accountable to those projects, report on those projects? And so for that, PERT charts or Gantt charts are helpful, or now, because it's online, work groups, online work groups, where you can monitor progress on assignments, give feedback online. If you have, if you're an organization with teams all around in different places, this becomes helpful. I've used it even when my team was in the same building, to use a work group to just monitor where we could all see what we're working on, what the projected date, the due date is, and where we are in terms of fulfilling that assignment. What percentage are we at? Are we at 10% fulfillment and it's due next week? Do I need more resources to get it done? That kind of thing. So the strategic planning moves into project planning then. And project planning always has 3 concerns. It has time, it has what the resources are I have available in terms of money, and then the personnel. So time, resources, personnel. And that it begins to be a 3-legged stool, right? If I don't have time, I've got to add more money, or I've got to add more people to the project. If I have a lot of time, I can use less people, I can maybe less money to get it done. So execution tools like now project planning or assignment tracking, those kind of things become helpful.
Good. So I think maybe I just take them through vision clarification, mission and value clarification, then objectives and leading to some activities to fulfill those objectives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I will still take them through. We started with some definitions, concept of strategic planning. Um, so,
Are your students familiar
but
with the
I
concept
hope that we, the concept,
of strategic planning? Is this new to them, or is this taking it to another level?
um, yeah, some of they are mixed. They are
Okay.
mixed. They are mixed kind of people. So I don't want to assume that they are all familiar,
Hmm.
because some of them, it may be new to them.
Right.
So they are mixed. So, but you see, that's why I'm including your notes. uh, because if I can take them up from the basic and elementary,
Hmm.
explain, they will be able to grasp and wrestle with your workbook.
Yeah.
Especially these, I'm more interested that if personally they work on turning your ministry idea into a fruitful and effective reality, it will be beneficial to them personally. Then they can, because I have your note here, they can also go to the workbook, strategic planning workbook
Hmm.
uh, I have here. So I hope that some of them may be able to wrestle with that,
Yes.
especially for their organization.
Yes.
Mm, yeah. So that's that. I think if that's that on strategic planning.
Hmm.
Uh, so we still continue tomorrow. Then on the library, yeah, we have resources from these people, but I don't know to what extent you said you are acquainted with the stewards who are to be managing, because any planting of the little free library,
Hmm.
a steward has to be trained.
Yes.
Who, wherever, like we did at the Ministry of Education, we have requested the commissioner to give us someone who will be trained and will be a steward. So actually, such people will be more to manage information.
Hmm.
I think usually at our university, there is this general course that most students should go through. That's okay. I think it's library information science also,
Yes.
something like that. So some of these stewards may have to be exposed to that kind of package. But I'm not a major I'm not a librarian. I didn't study library. So whatever resources are available that can be helpful in training people for uh, information, for managing library, I think will be appreciated if
What kind
there's.
of does the little libraries, do they have a set number of books, or are you uh, revolving books through it? How do you have it set up, and uh, what would be some of the things the steward was doing?
Yeah, actually, the steward, we still have to, if we want to load stock, if we want to stock any box, it, if, it is the steward that we will give.
Okay, and so
And
they're recording what books go in and when they go
we
out.
record what books are there. And then also, if from the interaction with the boxes, the steward will be able to give information about what type of books are the people looking for?
Okay.
What type of books will be relevant to them? So
Okay.
actually, the steward must be somebody who is interested in reading books. Mhm. And we will have to be in touch with quite a number of authors and publishers. Mhm. So, and the Little Free Library, anyone can take books away from it. It's not padlock.
Mm-hmm.
It's ever open. So you can take a book. You can also leave a book in the box. Mm.
Okay.
The role of the steward will also be to check mate of maybe some poisoner books or some books that may not be very helpful, that anybody may, that's in our context, in case anybody wants to put some books that are not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Stewards has the power to withdraw a particular book or to authorize a particular book for public consumption.
Let me talk to the city librarian here in Coquille.
Okay.
She has a lot of experience as a librarian, obviously, but let me talk to her about this idea and see if she has anything that she is either aware of or that she's done herself in terms of training, and if she would make it available, and if so, we'll make that connection and see if she wants to contribute. So I'll talk to her this week. See if I can get in touch with her and see if she has anything that would be helpful or knows somebody that would have information.
Okay.
I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think she's the kind of person I think that would get really excited about the idea that someone in Nigeria is putting together little free libraries and needs some help.
Yes.
I think that would excite her. So we'll see if I'm right or not.
Yeah, no, I know it's a very noble project. And then people have started promising to donate books. Mm.
Excellent.
And maybe if you have people, if it's not be too costly, if you have donations from US, you will appreciate it. The issue may be transporting such books.
Yes, we got to find someone flying to Nigeria that can have an extra suitcase.
To see that, to see that. Yes. So I think with that, the other one, this is our last meeting that we held together.
Mm-hmm.
We said that we should have you future in August or so. Is it August or?
Oh yes, yeah. But I forget. It was later in the summer because I'll be gone through a lot of the summer. Let me get my calendar back up here. Calendar. There you are. And so August, it looks like, as I recall, August is mostly open at this point. So we can do something.
Yeah.
And I'd refresh me, what was the subject that we were talking about?
Yeah, we discussed about, that's when we held Jesus and Justice.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you talk more on justice. And I was saying that this, your experience and thoughts on the issue of justice will be so relevant for um, audience in Nigeria. Mm.
Absolutely. I would be happy to do that. That gets me back to working on my book, which I've been distracted by
Oh,
because
yes,
of
yes,
COVID
yes.
and everything else. So
Yeah. How far with the book?
I'm one chapter. The first chapter is in very rough draft, and I was looking at it the other day. I thought, okay, I need to polish that up and then start writing chapter 2. So I'm not sure it. Let's see, three times three. I probably have 9 chapters. There'll be 3 sections in the book, 9 or 12 chapters. I haven't decided yet. And each section is focused out of one of the aspects that Micah talks about, to do justice. So that's one section. There'll be 3 chapters or so on that. To love mercy, that'll be the next section, and there'll be 3 chapters on that. And then to walk humbly with God. And same thing, there'll be several chapters on that, talking about what that looks like. In my teaching, I've been invited to speak both at my own congregation and then at a congregation one of my students is on staff at. My teaching, I'm working on some of these themes even in the teaching, and so spoke in Eureka, looking at the story of Hagar and the issues of justice, the issues of mercy, God seeing us as real people. That was a really powerful sermon. I had just a lot of feedback from that. And then this Sunday, talked about Enoch and what it meant to walk with God. And had some, because Enoch, just on this theme, the reason Enoch's important is that what Jude says is that Enoch had a vision of the Lord coming with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment. It's Jude 14. So Enoch, 7th generation from Adam, saw this vision of ultimate justice. And then what transpires? What is it that God is judging? And the significance of that is that when we think of justice and judgment that way, I'm all for God judging those evil people, right? Why doesn't God judge evil? Why doesn't God judge that person? But when I think about me, now the judgment of God becomes terrifying. But we all are accountable, and we're all accountable because we all have agency as being made in the image of God. That is, we can choose to do right or we can choose to do wrong. So Enoch becomes important in the discussion too, because in his walk with God, you can't walk with God and not have a vision of justice. So like I was talking about the Old Testament prophets, and you pointed out the same thing in your class, right? You can't read the prophets without understanding social justice. You can't watch Jesus, what Jesus does, without understanding social justice. I mean, the only way to read Jesus and not catch social justice is to read it without understanding the context in which Jesus is working. The gospel is a justice, social justice gospel. There is salvation for the oppressed, for the widow, healing for the sick. All of this is part of God's working. So yeah, I'm excited about it, and I'm especially excited about it because of what's happening here in the United States today. We are fracturing even more politically. The evangelical church here is fracturing in and of itself. It is confused, and sometimes when I hear evangelicals here talk, I wonder what they're talking about, because what they're talking about doesn't sound like the gospel at all. It doesn't sound like the Jesus I read about in the New Testament. And that grieves me, right? That the church would be speaking to the community, but I don't recognize this because it doesn't sound like Jesus. It sounds political, like a particular party, but it doesn't sound like Jesus. So for us in the United States, understanding Micah's words become even more significant. and especially in the turmoil that we're in right now. The January 6th committee investigating what happened on January 6th and the insurrection in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. I mean, those hearings have just been unsettling in the things that they have uncovered in the corruption of our government. And so, and then the responses have been unsettling because it isn't a response based on data, it's a response based on reaction and ideologies. And so on the one hand, we're living in a time of great uncertainty and can be a little scary. And I was talking with a friend of mine who works in Chile, who's from the US. He's a former student of mine that's working on his PhD. I said, you know, even though it's unsettling and it's scary, the other part of me says, I live in a time where there is this tremendous opportunity to see the justice of God, the love of God, the mercy of God work. And my prayer is that God would help me see that, because at times it's completely overwhelming. I mean, just immobilizing. It's so overwhelming. And then I remember that God is the one who's working, and I get really excited to see what that's going to look like. So, yes, I'm all in. I want to talk more.
Good. Now, can we have a specific date or tentative date in August that we can be working and be planning towards it?
Yes. What dates are you thinking about?
I know that August 20 will be the time of wedding of my son in South Africa. So it's either a week before or after.
So that would make it the Saturday the 13th or Saturday the 27th.
Okay. 13 or 27. Let's see. 13. Yeah. Okay. Let's work on 13th.
13th.
Yeah. So 13 is Saturday. Okay.
And what time of day would we be looking at?
Yeah, I think usually it may be better. We started around 3 p.m. in your own time. Can we start by 12 noon at your time, which will be about 8 p.m. over here?
12 noon my time. Yep.
Yeah.
And how long do we want you aim at?
Yeah, I think let's aim at 2 hours still.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
So if we can get maybe some of these objectives or expected learning outcome, then we can send it out, get the e-flyer out for us.
I will do that.
Yeah. Thank you. I think before I leave, um, for the strategic plan, uh, the class discussed world-changing factors that we look into. Let me just highlight some of them. Advent of COVID,
Mhm.
ICT, insecurity, the travel restriction because of COVID and insecurity, Russia-Ukraine war,
Yes.
global recession, technological revolution, then consciousness health-wise, um, then the challenge of redundancy, idleness, then displacement of people,
Mm.
fear of election,
Mhm.
then partisan hatred. Uh, okay, then this issue of insecurity seems to be more and more with us in Nigeria. And
It's more and more around the globe.
insecurity. Uh,
Yes.
are we? Is it? Are you? Yeah, in the globe, but these are all seem to be
Hmm.
more. I mean, it's likely also you got the news of some attacks on worshippers in churches.
Yes. Yes.
You see, so even this insecurity in our own case, as a result of insurgency
Mhm.
eh, and religious intolerance.
Yes.
Uh, this lot of kidnapping going on,
Mm.
um, banditry.
Mhm.
I don't know whether this problem can be a kind of uh, focus attention for strategic planning to uh, to to overcome it in a way. Is this is it a problem or a challenge that can be overcome? During this last lecture with them on Monday, I just remember in Israel, whenever these enemy of Israel wants to attack, I think there was a prophet, I think Elisha, he would have told them they are coming to this side.
Mm.
So go to the other side.
Mhm.
They're coming, and to the extent that that king said, who among you, the soldiers, my soldier, that is
Yes.
betraying or so just betraying all our tactics, disclosing to, then they told him, nobody, there is nobody, but you see, there is a prophet over there. Whatever you are doing in your room, he knows about it. And actually, we had some meeting in our church recently. So we have a lot of prophets predicting events. There are some that are genuine, some are not genuine.
Mhm.
But even the sad thing is that some who predicted or prophesied that this thing will happen, and it didn't happen, they were not humble enough to come to the public again and said they are sorry for misleading people.
Yes.
But I relate strategic planning to a kind of prophetic ministry in the church.
Yes.
To look into the future. So, in what way can this issue of insecurity be addressed, not just for immediate, but strategically? Uh, it's difficult to travel in Nigeria now because, I mean, even both highly placed people, low placed people can be kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
And then even it's also affecting farming and agriculture
Mm-hmm.
because just like the Midianites in the Bible, people are afraid to go to farm
Yeah.
because of insecurity. So I will appreciate your thought on this and what can be done strategically.
I, when you look at that, there, let me back up. There would be a time, not too many years ago, where those kinds of threats would sound alien to me. However, if you've seen the news from the United States of mass shootings in churches, targeted shootings of individuals, now I identify with some of that same sense of insecurity. Travel is not as difficult, but threat is always there. So that when I go to speak in a church, one of the things I have to do is address my own fear in prayer and say, Lord, I don't know who will be there, but surround me with your grace. Surround me with your peace. No, come back. I'm going to finish my statement so that there's multiple levels to address. One would be to acknowledge the insecurity and to have contingency plans for quick responses. So if I have someone who is kidnapped, how will my organization respond? If I have someone who is in a threatening situation, how will I get them out? So in missions agencies, for example, that I worked in, we had escape plans for all our missionaries. That was part of our strategic planning, right? Our strategic planning for country X had to include how we get our people out if there's a revolution or if there's a threat on their life or if the government falls apart or violence breaks out and it threatens them. How would we do that? So that would be one way to address it in strategic planning. The other way to address it in strategic planning is to acknowledge that the risk is there. So Paul acknowledges that.
Oh,
I'm glad you're back. I went ahead
yeah.
and kept talking because I'm recording it. So I'll just pick up where I left off. Paul talks about, I'm talking about being honest with the risk. He says, God has chosen us apostles last. And then he gives a list of all the threats that he faced while traveling on the road. I think there has to be, in a strategic plan, there's two parts to this. One, the admission of the risk, and then two, a willingness of the organization to not only assess the risk, but to address it when it needs to, in terms of, do we change our plan? Do we alter our plan? Are we going to value prayer and God's direction in our organization? So that when we talk about organizational values, that's going to be a very big part of it. God, should we go? Or should we not go? And so you have a model for that in, well, even David, before he was king, asking if he should go address the threat of the Philistines or not. And God saying yes or no. I think there has to be that kind of relationship in prayer in an organization that is working in the gospel to have that kind of prayer life. You can address it also in, what else am I thinking? You said something about prophets being wrong. I think an organization that because planning is like prophecy, there has to be a willingness of the organization to be humble enough to correct themselves if their plan is off, right? So I'm predicting this for the future, I'm going to do this in the future, and that future doesn't come. Then part of a strategic plan also needs the humility to say, well, okay, that didn't happen. Let's retrench, look at what we're supposed to be doing in our mission again. We missed it. Let's admit that. Now, what are we going to do instead of that? Surprisingly, one of the pitfalls that an organization can fall into is it's part of self-preservation that defends the indefensible. I'm wrong, but I don't want to admit that I'm wrong, and so I defend things I can't defend. It's addressable also in strategic planning and saying, how will we care for the mental and spiritual health of our employees, our volunteers, so on and so forth, right? So what mechanisms do we have if I've got an employee or I've got a volunteer that's supposed to go do some task in an area, but they're afraid to go? How do I address that? What alternatives do I have for that? Do I ignore that? Do I just tell them to go do it anyway? Well, no, not if their life is threatened. How do I surround that individual in prayer and encouragement? I mentioned, I don't know if you were still on the line, that last time I spoke in a congregation because of church shootings, I had my own sense of fear. What am I going to do if a shooter comes into this congregation? And leaders are often the target. So, Lord, help me hear what you're doing. Address my fear. Give me wisdom. Am I still going? Yes. Okay. Then help me have the courage to face this possibility of threat. And so, part of strategic planning can be a risk level assessment, right? Like, the risk is this high, we still go. The risk is this high, we stop and reconsider. The risk is this high, we change our plans. I was talking with my friend in Chile, he's the Latin director for SIM in Chile. He's one of my former students. And we were joking around today. I said, well, Luke, you know my favorite missionary verse? And he said, no, I don't know your favorite missionary verse. I said, oh, it's this. It's when Jesus told his disciples, if they persecute you in this city, flee to the next. I said, that's helped me deal with a lot of fear. I can run, right? So I face persecution. I'm gone. I'm out of here. I'm running. Well, it's not just a joke. It's Jesus helping them face reality of the situation they would step into. Janice is making faces at me through the window. So
good day to you.
I said some other things that you can pick up when you come back and review this, but I think there is a way to address that in strategic planning, as the reality that organizations face in turbulent environments, and organizations have to be honest about that. And then allow for, you mentioned the Midianites. God raised up a Gideon. And there has to be an allowance for God anointing somebody to do things that nobody in their right mind would attempt. Right? Nobody wanted to agree with Hudson Taylor's going into the inland of China. That was unheard of. No missionary ever did that. But Hudson Taylor said that's what we need to do, and we need to dress and talk Chinese to do it. Well, he wasn't in his right mind, according to mission agencies, but he opened up the whole inland mission in China. And so there's plenty of historical examples. And so that too has to be a value in the organization, to not only hear that somebody has a vision, but to help them discern that vision and the cost of that vision. If they're a pioneer, or if they're a prophetic person, to do that. And then again, because you mentioned prophecy, all prophecy gets to be tested by those who hear. So if I'm a prophet, I just can't come in and blab, what I think I'm going to say. I have to submit it to the people that hear, and they have to give me feedback. Does that sound like something God is saying or not? And then I think of prophecies that are warning. Paul was warned before he went to Jerusalem what would happen to him by one of the prophets. I think his name was Agabus, right? You're going to be bound and turned over to those you don't want to go to. And the people tried to persuade him not to go because of the risk. And Paul said, no, this is my assignment. I need to go. I'm aware of this risk. Thank you. The prophecy was correct, but why was it given? It was to affirm the cost, and it was to generate the intercession for Paul that he would need, right? The church started praying for him because they loved him. And so I think for the church globally, because of the rise of the things you not only mentioned, but also the right-wing tendency and isolationism that's happening in so many countries, there's going to be a lot more confusion and chaos and violence. And we have to be honest about what kind of threat that is. Here in the United States, we actually have armed militia that are threatening to overthrow the government. And Janice and I have talked, we could envision the day that there are checkpoints, not government checkpoints, but checkpoints by armed militia that would have a litmus test of whether or not you pass, and that would be whether or not you agreed with their political persuasion. And it's scary to think about that in the United States, that happening. Well, I live in a rural community, and there was a report 2 years ago that some Antifa people may come, and there were literally 50, 60, 70 people with rifles armed to the hilt waiting for Antifa to come here, so they weren't going to let them destroy the town. It was just a rumor, but an armed militia showed up, and law enforcement couldn't do anything. There were too many. So it was like, what a crazy time we're living in. What a crazy time we're living in. But Jesus, Mark 13, we were just reading it this morning. Jesus said, we'd have crazy times, right? There would be all of this. And so I think strategic planning is a good way to actually think about the risk, contemplate what it means, how it impacts what I can do and how I do it. All of the issues. I just read a book called The COVID Reset, written by an economist out of Sweden, or not Sweden, Switzerland, somewhere in Europe. Wow, all the things that are being affected. Now the war in Ukraine amplifying all of this. I mean, we are facing all kinds of shortages here that for us is shocking. I mean, we just don't have shortages in the United States, but we do now. Value chains and supply chains are all still being impacted. They were impacted by COVID, but now they're being impacted by the war. Gasoline prices are through the roof. They're ridiculous here. Other places in the world may be used to this, but we're not used to this. I looked at my grocery bill the other day, how much we have to spend for food. I thought, my word, this is getting crazy.
It's getting crazy.
So, but God, what are you doing in all of this to bring men and women? I keep coming back to that. What is God doing in the midst of all the crazy? And that helps me stay focused and not so depressed. And when I'm fearful, I go to God and I just tell God I'm fearful. So anyway, maybe that'll help. I said a couple other things while you were offline. You can review on the video.
I will, and it's going to be helpful. And it will be part of our discussion tomorrow in the class.
Awesome.
I just throw it open. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So we'll follow up maybe by chat on email and WhatsApp.
Yes, I look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Blessings to you, my brother.
Yeah, please. My appreciation to Janet.
I will let her know. And Adenike as well. Send our love.
Yes. Thanks.
Blessings.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.